Hey everyone, today we're going to be kind of talking about the updates I'm going to be making to circuits for the next event. Some of you may know Bobbrawl is having another event in Robodrome. I will not be attending that one. I just haven't had the time to kind of put anything together that's going to do well. So I've decided to kind of sit this one out. It's a bit short notice, like compared to like the August one. You have like from August to November, like the end of November. And it's just not enough time for me, really. Especially, you know, I just got a new car, which I might do a video on because I think it's pretty cool. So I kind of just haven't been in the spot to kind of create one. Like I've got a new robot right now, but what I have been able to do is kind of create a concept of a design that I might run maybe like next year, because it is like the final event of 2024. So in 2025 I might have a new robot that I can run at some sort of event, such as Anime North, something like that, and I have a design that's ready for that. So by the way, I'm not going to bother posting the videos of what was it, the CNE. I'm not going to bother posting any fights from it. They were just so lackluster, like they're not interesting. And I know that a lot of the times I post my losses and stuff that didn't go right, but these were just not that interesting. If you want to go and look for them, I'm pretty sure you can probably find them on the Bobbrawl YouTube channel, but I recommend you don't waste their time because they're not that interesting. I only had 2 fights and both of them ended in like under a minute. I was having some really persistent receiver issues. I think just the placement of the receiver where it had the binding button being pressed, really annoying issue. But I also kind of want to like change some stuff with the weapon. So I had an idea for the November event, and I kind of put something together. And while it's a neat design, there are some things I kind of didn't like about it. So I made this kind of proof of concept for a cool like 4-wheel drive horizontal spinner, and it was a neat concept at first. You know, you have this nice kind of like a billet chassis. It's not really a billet chassis, but you kind of see what I mean. It's 3D printed. This is ASA. I usually make all my stuff out of polycarbonate now, but this was my test plastic. So you'd have 4 N20s with 4 small wheels, and so it kind of just go like that, and I guess I would just hope it didn't get flipped. This would be essentially a hard robot to flip. You know, it's a big ant weight. This would be a large ant weight. And since it's so wide and you have this huge weapon that, let's say it hits something, it's just going to go straight up and back onto its wheels. And having the 4 N20s would allow for some redundancy in the drive system. If one wheel goes out, you still have another one kind of pushing it. So I kind of played around with this idea for a bit. First of all, it's just a lot of plastic to make this, and I don't want to be making all these frames. I mean, I've spent a lot of time making frames before, but also there's a bit of a complicated design. You know, I see I had to make these like channels here. That's gonna pick up. Yeah, because the wheels is just such small wheels. I just don't think the robot would go all that fast. And I'll kind of explain that in a minute. This wouldn't be an invertible design, like I said. I guess if I cut that shaft, it might be able to, but again, these are small wheels, so it's not going to go very fast. And even at this size, they barely fit in this chassis. It's going to take a major redesign to make this all work. But these are all kind of small issues. The main reason is weight. So this chassis is not light. I think this was like maybe a 60-gram chassis. For most people that might seem like a light chassis, but for what I'm doing, that's too heavy, especially considering that each N20 is going to be around 10 to 12 grams, especially with a wheel attached. When I have 2 of those, it's generally fine. When you double that weight, it kind of gets a little difficult, because this is a 150-gram weapon mated to a 50-gram weapon motor. And you also have to account for the speed controller that goes with that. So just the weapon configuration is over 200 grams, which is about half the weight of the robot. So we have all that on the front, and trying to set up a 4-wheel drive system. And the way I do things is I like to do everything direct drive, so I'm not belting this. So it would all just be really heavy. I have to figure out stuff for batteries and stuff. I actually planned on using two 2S batteries and running this at 4S. So this will be a potent weapon for sure, and a nice little base there, nice and solid. So I kind of toyed with this idea. And I do think if I did get it properly kind of dialed in, this could be a solid robot. Although another thing is, I have a bit of clearance issues. You can see I'm running with some pretty tight tolerances, and if I bounce this around, you can hear that it does contact those bolts. So this would be a hard design to kind of like dial in, you know what I'm saying? So the point was to kind of take what worked in this design and all my past designs, and yes, there are things that worked, mainly Circus 2 that used this disc. This is actually the lightest disc I've ever created, yet it, I think, has done the most damage, ironically. So this is also the fastest disc I've ran. I think I was pumping like 30,000 RPM into this little guy. It's about 100 grams, 100 millimeters effective diameter, spinning at 30,000 RPM. So I was getting close to like 300 miles an hour or something like that. So this thing was potent. It landed blistering shots. If you watch my fight against Shelmet, which is on my channel, you can see that this thing landed some crazy hits. This weapon stores so much energy, and when it was working right, it landed some crazy impacts. Shelmet, Captain and I were talking, and he was saying that this weapon hits really hard, and Shelmet is a entirely TPU 3D printed robot with just some, I think it's N20s that he just drives around with. So it's just a driving block of TPU, and one of the impacts, probably the highlight impact of the match, the entire robot, it lost a wheel early in the match, but it still managed to move around, kind of like Oswald in a bit. It was kind of spinning around, and it was spinning in the direction of the weapon, so the weapon actually got more bite. So it was getting more energy behind it, and because it's spinning in the same direction, it's actually going to get more bite. And Shelmet came at me, and this weapon got beautiful engagement on them. I'm talking beautiful engagement. Both robots were sent across the box. They were sent in opposite directions. I'm pretty sure I talked about this fight. I might not have, but I'm pretty sure I did. So, moving on. With the impressive record that this spinner had, I wanted to use it again, instead of this massive disc. Obviously, this weapon came with some disadvantages. First of all, I had it designed with a 5mm shaft to work with a small motor. In fact, I have this motor somewhere. What is that? Some bug just went on my bed. Anyway, so yeah, this weapon did not come without its share of disadvantages. So I was running it with a very light and small motor, and it's also a very high kV motor. So this motor spun up to a very high RPM because I was running it on 3S lithium high voltage battery, so it's about 13 volts top end, so about 11.4 volts nominal. So that's this motor. This is a 2205 2300 kV motor. So I just went like that. And it spun pretty nice. And those of you who watched that fight may remember, it also had a big old bearing that surrounded it and supported the motor while this thing was spinning. So I would have a kind of light weapon stack up with this 100 gram weapon and this 28-30 gram weapon motor that could spin it up to maybe like 15,000 RPM, something like that, at a 3S. So it's a pretty solid number. This thing's going to pack a lot of energy. Not quite the 30,000 we ran last time, but it kind of struggled with light anyway, so we don't really need all of that speed. So then I got to thinking, is this motor really gonna do what I want? Is it gonna have the durability that I'm looking for? So then I remembered I have these this huge Sunny Sky motor that's in here, and this may not look like a particularly massive motor, but it is. It is a 50 gram motor. It has a 6mm shaft, and it has two quite large bearings. If you look at some of the larger motors, like the 5010 disc brushless motors that I use, like on Oswald and Circus 1, they have some large bearings, and this relatively smaller motor uses those bearings. So it's quite a lot of durability packed into a small package, which is kind of exactly what I'm looking for. For a robot with a huge weapon, I need something that's nice and compact, nice and light, but can also directly drive the weapon and take those impacts. So I got to thinking about the design. By the way, here's the first iteration. So you can see if you throw on a wheel here and wheel here, which is what I found inside of these N20s, and put a weapon on here, kind of have a tombstone-y design here. So just a direct drive horizontal. So the goal here in the first place was to just kind of create something nice and simple, go back to the basics and not try to create these weird designs that I have in the past with the kite shape. This time we're kind of just going with this irregular pentagonal shape. And then I plan to use that motor, so it's kind of morphed a little bit from there. And now we have this. This is the official test. And yeah, so we have these massive wheels on here. These are 5 centimeters. This is the original size I used, but this is actually a brand new design of wheel. So you can see the actual hub is quite a lot thicker than the tire, and that's on purpose. That's to provide some durability. These are pretty chunky wheels. It also provides a lot of surface area on the shaft to really grab onto it, so I shouldn't let go. I have those fast N20s I had on the last robot, so with these larger wheels, this thing's pretty zippy. It pops wheelies when it drives, and it's pretty squirrely. This isn't the actual weapon though. This is a solid PLA test frame. You can see it flexes. That's not because of any flexibility here. This motor is solid on it. It's just a flexibility print. I don't even know how light this test is. Doesn't really matter. You can see I have these speed controllers on here. I don't plan on using these anymore. My plan is to pick up some higher voltage brush controllers that can handle 2 to 4S. I found these weird ones on AliExpress I plan on trying out. So that's going to be the goal. Try to get those to work. But yeah, the main thing I want to talk about here is the weapon. So we have that motor on there with this small weapon. And at first I was skeptical about doing this because for RPM, these brushless motors are not particularly that fast. These are actually a pretty low kV, they're 650, which means that this motor only spins up to around 7,000 RPM on 3S. Still a considerable number, especially for a weapon like this. Huge diameter here. This is about 150 millimeters. I mean, absolutely massive. But for something like this tiny little weapon, I just didn't know if it's going to have enough potency. But I did some research and some testing, and I think it'll be just fine. This thing is it's scary enough. I'm not going to do a little spin up here. Even like holding this in my hand is kind of dangerous. Not a good example anyway. So hopefully the plan is to actually switch this out for a 4S battery, a GMB battery, and get some more juice into this weapon. The thing is also, I need to take these discs and drill them out to a 6mm shaft hole size to make them fit onto here, because right now they do not fit onto this motor. So if I take this weapon off, no matter what I do, this is not going to fit on here. So I need to fix that, and that means having to try and drill through 6.3mm AR 500. So not going to be very fun. I also have to get metric bits for it. So we're going to see how that goes. Hopefully it's easy. Probably won't be, but it's kind of typically how that goes. And then I can do a proper spin-up test. Really excited to see how this goes. This is a full PLA chassis, by the way. This is going to be done out of polycarbonate at the end. I'm also going to get rid of this regulator, which I've been really wanting to do. I don't like having the regulator, but it's because these ESCs can't handle the 3S that they advertise. So I have to run them with a regulator, which is really annoying because sometimes it cuts out and then it resets, and then the throttle will be at the center and the wheels will be rolling. And also it just really can't supply that much power to this. These motors don't really pull that much power, so it's not too much of an issue, but I'd like to push these up to 3S and get this robot to be really fast, or 4S, get the wheels a little higher and the weapon to be pretty fast. At 4S, this should be able to spin up to 10,000 RPM, which I think is going to be potent enough to do some real damage. So yeah, you can see it kind of, if you ignore this, all the electronics, that looks like a tombstone, sort of, with the big wheels on the side, and I mean, it's more of an overcutter, but you got the nice big weapon here. And yeah, it's pretty simple. So yeah, it's kind of the update on that. Hopefully I can finish this up and getting the parts I need. I'm still waiting on the ESC. I only ordered one just to test it out, so I'll have to test it out, confirm that it works, and then order another one and wait for that one to come in. So just kind of how testing goes. And I'm a little confused as to what to do with these now, because I kind of spent this money on these little motors, and I don't really know what to do with them. But that's kind of just the price of testing. You buy parts and you don't really know what to do with them. I'm sure I'll find something to do with these. In the meantime, just gotta wait and see when my stuff's gonna come in, and I'll do another update. I know I haven't uploaded in a while, so I figured might as well give a little update on what I'm doing. And yeah, that's kind of about it.